Hi, so you're obviously interested in working out how to get in control of your fear of failure. If you're watching this, there's some interest in there, so let's get into it. And I'm going to explain to you why so many people have a fear of failure, which is so big, it stops us from doing what we could. And the standard question to ask is, what has fear of failure cost you? What have you lost from doing this? You know, it could be income, it could be growing your business or creating your business. It could be something to do with your lifestyle or your health that you're not allowing yourself to do. Career, obviously, not going for the jobs you could go for. Family, friendship. It can cost us in all sorts of different ways. And we know this. We're smart enough to understand this. And that's probably why you're watching this video. So when we're told to think about what's it cost you, so we get motivated to power through our doubts and our fears, usually what happens is we don't, or we may do it for a short while, but then we go back to this excessive fear. So it's a very, very common thing. It's actually one of the top 3 reasons. But if you notice there's that word excessive. It's not fear of failure that's the problem. And actually, fear of failure is a good thing. Now, most people won't tell you that. I'm going to tell you that because if you don't have fear of failure, you'll do all sorts of things without thinking about the consequences. But it's the excessive fear of failure that causes the problem. And a lot of people have this. And it's one of the easiest things that we accidentally create. And the word there is, again, accidentally. We don't do it on purpose. We don't want to do it. But we accidentally create this excessive amount of fear, which gets out of control, because the brain says, I've really got to protect you from failure. So this is the biggest reason. And about 40% of people have an excessive fear of failure, or they're terrified of it. It gets out of control rather than a sensible amount of failure that we need to have to help us, because you're meant to be fearful sometimes. On a regular basis, every day, you're meant to be fearful. You're meant to be fearful of even just walking across the road. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to go into panic attacks and sweats going across the road. It just means that you go, this road is dangerous, be careful. So you may not recognize it as fear, but you need that tiny bit of fear to say, hey, pay attention, you're important, your life's important. Just watch what's going on with the road. Yeah, it's safe, it's clear. Go across the road, the fear turns off. So we are meant to be fearful, and this is some of the most stupid things I see people teaching, that you're meant to have bulletproof confidence. You're meant to be always positive. You're always meant to, be able to go for it. That's nonsense. Sometimes you think, this is not a good idea. This is not the best idea I've had. I shouldn't be signing on the dotted line on this. I shouldn't be making that decision to whatever it is you're going to do, because there's something in the back of your head that says, now this isn't going to work very well. You're meant to debate that. You're meant to lose confidence a little bit, just to make you stop and go, hang on a second, is this a good idea? So appropriate fear of failure, of loss, of messing up, whatever, is very helpful. It actually helps us make better decisions. But if you didn't have that, you'll just have an idea and go crazy and just start it. And then later you think, why didn't I stop myself? It wasn't such a good idea. I just got caught up in the moment. So appropriate fear is useful. It's good. It's not much fun because it's fear. Fear is not much fun, but it's helpful to make good decisions. But being terrified to the point where you won't take action when you could is not. And this is what we're talking about. That's the difference. When you know you're capable and you know you have the skills, and even you've done it before, but you still hold yourself back, there's something in your brain that says, this is too dangerous to act. So the problem with being excessively fearing failure in this case is that we end up failing when we shouldn't, and your emotions are there to help you but not control you. So when we are excessively fearing something, trying to desperately protect ourselves, often from something that is not actually a big problem, but we think it is. Think of it like this way. If you know somebody with a phobia and they freak out. They just lose it. They freak out and they want to run away and they're scared. And it's like, that's part of their brain saying, that is so dangerous. That's terrifying. And everybody else in the room is going, really? What? It's a mouse or it's a spider. So that person's brain has excessively given them too much fear, and it ends up controlling their actions. And they end up controlling you rather than helping you do something useful. So when we are thinking about our own fears, excessive fears, we think they're real and they're useful and they're valid. When we're looking at somebody else and we think, why are you getting so worked up over that? Because we're not in the emotions, we're not feeling them, we're not feeling that adrenaline and that fear. We can still be rational. So when you are thinking about excessive fear and you step back and you go, oh, why did I hold myself back? That's when you're out of that situation. But when you're in that situation, your brain has accidentally given you too much and it stops you thinking properly and it makes you hold back. And it's not there to do that. It's there to help you, but it ends up controlling you. So the problem is, because we are so desperate not to fail, we end up failing anyway because we don't do what we could. So we underachieve. It's one of the most easiest and common and easiest things to actually fix, because here's a really important thing: you don't do it all of the time. Sometimes you let yourself do things which are scary, and sometimes your brain turns on and goes, no. Now, the interesting thing about having goals and trying to push yourself through this is, if there's something that unconsciously in your brain that you're very scared about, and you're not sure why, you don't know why it's really there, that's easy to find out, actually. We always find that out in the first 2 hours of when we work together. But what happens is, when you set a goal and you say, I want to do that, and the real you tries to push forward, if this is paying attention, which it is all the time, it'll wake up and then the argument starts. So setting goals when you've got this sabotage thinking, this sabotage loop as we call it, this is waiting here and looking for when you're going to do something that it thinks is dangerous. The moment you set that goal, the moment you say, I'm going to do this, it says, no, you're not. And it wakes up, gives you all that anxiety, gives you all that stress. And then you end up in that conflict, wanting to do it, but not letting yourself, wanting to do it, but not letting yourself. So if you've got this argument in your head, that's actually a good thing. It's not good for you to achieve, but it's good because that's the process that can be fixed. If you have an argument, and this is why you're watching this probably, that you know that you could be doing something better, that's the real you wanting to take charge. It's just you've got this accidental sabotage thinking that has got excessively out of control that you can't turn off, or don't know how yet to turn off. And that's what we do with our clients. So when we turn this off, the real you can just move forward. And guess what? The real you also has a fear of failing, but an appropriate fear of failing. It's part of that mechanism of making important decisions. So at the end, you just go, right, I've got an idea. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. Is it the right thing? And that's what we're meant to do at the end of every decision, especially every new and important decisions. We're meant to stop and go, let's just think it through before we sign on the dotted line and we move forward. This will just go, no, not going to let you. No way. Too dangerous and too much fear. And it just stops you going through a rational process of picking the right goal for the right reason and the right process to make it happen. You can do this. You do this all the time. You do it all the time, but sometimes this turns on, gets in the way. So the good thing about that is it's selective. It doesn't happen all of the time, which if it doesn't happen all of the time, it means you can turn it off more, even to the point of you don't turn this on ever again. So the real you just get on with making good decisions. Sometimes you say yes, sometimes you say no, depending on whether it's a good thing to do or not. It's very simple. You do that, you've done that all of your life. All we need to do is turn off the stuff that's excessively getting in the way, the sabotage thinking that gets in the way. So if you're fed up with kicking yourself for missing opportunities and doing the things you know you should have taken, and afterwards you then go, oh, why didn't I do that? Well, that's because this stopped you until the opportunity was gone. So the risk goes away, and then this wakes up and goes, oh, I'm so frustrated with myself. So if you're fed up with that, get in touch. Send us an email or book in a call using this. There's going to be a link kicking around here somewhere. Just click on that. You can book in. But if you've got that argument, if you're frustrated with yourself, if you're fed up with yourself, because you know that you're underachieving, because you're holding yourself back, because you're excessively fearing failure or criticism or something like that, then we can turn this off. This is what we specialize in. And then the amazing thing is you then get to move forward and you do stuff and you achieve better results because you're just not getting in the way. You've taken your foot off the brake and you can just go. Now this bit is going to want to stop you. It says, no, even talking to Stephen, sending that email is too scary, because then you're going to do something and you're going to fail. And that's why it's a loop. It doesn't want to turn off because it thinks it's helping you. That's the secret. It's not trying to hurt you and harm you. It does by stopping you from doing things, but it thinks it's the best part of your brain to help you be safe. But it's not, because that's why people end up failing when they don't need to. And if you are not earning the income, for example, you should, that's actually far more dangerous than going for it and earning the income. So you understand this rationally. This is not rational. This is fear-based, excessively fear-based. So to get through this, just need to be, I'm fed up. I'm going to call Stephen. Let's have a chat. Let's see how we can turn it off. 4 weeks is the normal amount of time it takes for us to do that with our clients. And you just need to overpower this just enough to us to get the process started. And then we can show you how quickly you can turn it off for good. Thank you for your time. Hope this has been useful to you. Don't let fear of failing get in the way again. It's an accident that we make that tries to help us, but actually makes life pretty damn miserable and makes us incredibly frustrated with ourselves. You don't have to live like that. I hope you get in touch.